step back from that ledge, my friend. You could cut ties with all the lies that you've been living in.
Hey everybody. For my social injustice, I decided to cover the topic of verbal abuse regarding religion. Now, the most direct example in my own life that I could think of for verbal abuse regarding religious beliefs or religious intolerance would be the preachers and other religious members who decide to stand outside Cooper Hall every day and preach about their own beliefs. Now, that's all fine and dandy, but what about people who don't tend to believe in the same things as they do? I mean, just because we don't believe in the same things, does that automatically give them the right to condemn us? If so, why? And how are other people feeling about it? For my social injustice action step, I decided to make a YouTube video of the interview that I conducted for the paper itself. So, since my interviewee decided for personal reasons to keep their identity anonymous, for all intents and purposes, ladies and gentlemen, former President Bill Clinton. Alright, Mr. Clinton, or President Clinton, how do you feel about the pastors and other religious members that stand outside of Cooper Hall preaching to and at times harassing students?
I feel that they are very ridiculous and disrespectful.
Alright, now this next question is to help anyone who actually has to deal with these situations on a day-to-day basis, but what actions can students take against being harassed?
They should just ignore them, because if they talk back, then the teachers will just get louder and they'll keep harassing students.
Alright, what are your feelings on these people using the First Amendment to allow them to continue in these activities, / excuse them from being more polite about what they preach?
I think it's a horrible excuse that they do that, because what they're doing isn't freedom of speech, it's verbal harassment.
Do you think that extending the laws regarding protection from discrimination of religion should be somehow intervened with the First Amendment to protect us from this kind of verbal abuse?
I believe it should. If this gets put in the First Amendment, it would avoid all kinds of harassment.
Do you support what the preachers do as a mean of spreading the word?
Not at all. They should do it in a more peaceful and calm way instead of harassing others.
What could they do differently to allow for a less of an abrasive tone with others?
They could be less offensive and instead be peaceful and civilized when talking to students on the USF campus.
Do you think ignorance of religion or ignorance regarding religion is a very precedent issue in our society today?
I believe it is, especially after recent events like 9/11. There's a very high intolerance for certain religions, which there should not be.
Do you see an end to the issue of religious intolerance anytime soon?
Not at all. Religious intolerance is going to be here for a very long time unless people decide they want to act more tolerant and be understanding of others.
Can you think of any advice for someone who may be annoyed about the preaching going on out front of Cooper Hall?
The only advice I can give them is to be tolerant of the preachers in front of Cooper Hall and to ignore them. Because if they choose not to ignore them and they choose to acknowledge what they're saying, the preachers will get louder and will probably start harassing the person acknowledging what they're saying.
Regardless of your religious beliefs or your beliefs on religion in general, do you validate the actions of the speakers as being a necessary action to serve their God?
Regardless of my personal preference, I believe what they are doing to be within the lines of what they define as proper worship by attempting to spread the teaching to their God in an order to save us. Save us. And though I may not support their reasoning, I can respect it and only suggest different methods on which to carry out their servitude without offending or harassing anyone else.
This is the story of a girl who cried a river and drowned the whole world. And while she looks so sad in photographs, I absolutely love her when she smiles.